For 8 years of our marriage, on our anniversary, she ran off to see her first love. Soon after, he came to my door, demanding a divorce and claiming she was pregnant with his child. He forced me to leave with nothing. I turned and took the hand of an aloof campus beauty later. She knelt at my doorstep begging for my forgiveness, but I didn't even spare her a glance. "Alex, I'm sorry. Brandon needs me." Audrey dropped the words and swiftly walked out of the restaurant. Today was our 8th wedding anniversary. Brandon had been her first love since childhood. Actually, when we got married, I was just taking advantage of Brandon's situation. Brandon was originally engaged to Audrey, but on their wedding day, he fell in love with someone else and called off the marriage. That's how he casually pulled me from the audience and got me to marry her. Everyone said I was incredibly fortunate to marry a girl like Audrey, who had both looks and background. It was as if it accumulated blessings over several lifetimes. I had secretly loved Audrey for 2 years, and I never dared to dream that I would one day marry her. After we married, Audrey and I treated each other with respect, like honored guests. I knew deep down she didn't want to marry me, but I didn't mind. I was willing to take things slowly, to quietly give my all, believing that one day she would recognize my worth and return to my embrace. In our 3rd year of marriage, Brandon had a car accident and sought out Audrey again. Brandon had lost everything after the accident, but all it took was a word from him, and Audrey would eagerly run to him. If shed a single tear in front of Audrey, she would immediately forgive him. I loved Audrey, so for years, I tacitly allowed her to meet Brandon, as long as they maintained their boundaries. I looked at the steaming steak on the table, which I had spent a month learning to make especially for Audrey. She once said it was delicious, and for that, I was willing to spend another month perfecting it. I sighed, forcing a smile to my lips. I thought, if Audrey comes home tonight, I'll forgive her. At 2 in the morning, I finally heard the lock click. I smiled, knowing Audrey would ultimately choose to come back to the home we shared. The door opened, and it was her. I happily went to greet her, taking her handbag. "Honey, are you hungry? Do you want me to cook something for you?" "No. Just draw me a bath. I'm a bit tired after a night of running around." I never used to question her dealings with Brandon, but after a while, I couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. If you're so tired, why bother taking care of Brandon? It's not like he has no one else. What do you know? Brandon only wants me. He only listens to me. Her words made me unhappy. But you're my wife. Why are you going out to take care of another man? I have my pride, you know. All right. Stop talking. I get it. Audrey sat on the sofa impatiently, rubbing her neck. "Husband, my neck is sore. Could you give me a massage?" Audrey took my hand and acted charmingly. It was rare for her to act charmingly, and I couldn't resist Audrey when she was like this. "Okay, your husband will massage it for you." Audrey rested her head on my lap. When she turned, I accidentally spotted a small, dark red bruise on her neck. I touched it with my hand. "What are you doing? That hurts." It looked so much like a hickey. Could she have done something inappropriate with Brandon? I felt a surge of panic and asked her, "Where did you get this? Why do you have this mark?" Audrey covered her neck. "Are you blind? It's clearly a mosquito bite from when I was coming home, right?" It seemed I was being too suspicious, overthinking things. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Audrey quickly went to shower. "I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to shower in the morning." I got up early to have breakfast with Mr. Arthur. Mr. Arthur had always disliked me, and even the servants beneath him looked down on me. To outsiders, my situation was no different from being a live-in son-in-law, although Arthur had arranged a position for me at Vance. It was just for odd jobs. He never intended to promote me. The son-in-law he favored and approved of was Brandon. "Look, Mr. Arthur just handed me another stack of documents to deliver. A task a driver could handle, yet he insisted I go. When you're under someone's roof, you have to bow your head. Moreover, this was Audrey's father. No matter how small the task he assigned, I had to do it well. When I left, Audrey's car was already gone. I was in a hurry to deliver the documents, so I didn't think much of it. While waiting at a traffic light, I glanced over and saw someone who looked like Audrey sitting in the coffee shop across the street, and the person sitting opposite her was Brandon. Was last night not enough? Was it necessary to meet so eagerly early in the morning? My heart felt heavy, as if a stone were pressing down on it. I picked up my phone and called Audrey. "Where are you?" "I think I saw you at the coffee shop." Audrey yawned lazily. "I'm sleeping at home." "You must be mistaken. The car had already passed the traffic light, so maybe I really was overthinking it. But something still felt off. I immediately contacted a private investigator on my phone, asking them to check on Audrey's movements. Soon, my phone received pictures and videos from the private investigator. They were professional, indeed. You get what you pay for. I opened the videos and pictures. Seeing and Brandon feeding each other coffee, spoon by spoon, truly pained me. I had tacitly allowed Audrey to go out and meet Brandon only because I wanted her to be happy, but that didn't mean she could deceive me. I am a person too. I feel sad and hurt. And I have my own pride as a man. That entire night, Audrey didn't come home. I saw her again the next day at noon. She hadn't called me once to check in, and every call I made to her was rejected. Audrey saw me sitting on the sofa, but didn't say a word. She walked past me directly. Intending to go back to her room, I grabbed her hand. Aren't you going to explain yourself to me? Audrey angrily pulled her hand away. Do I need your permission to go take care of Brandon? Get out of my way. I'm tired, Audrey. Look closely. I am your husband. I'm the one you should be caring about. I roared, unleashing all the pent-up fury in my heart at that moment. I had never lost my temper with Audrey before. My sudden outburst made her feel disrespected. This is my house. Why are you shouting? Our shouting drew Mr. Arthur out. Alex, a man should be more generous. Is this really worth getting upset over? Mr. Arthur already disliked me. Seeing me argue with Audrey made him even more disgusted. Alex, come to my study. The servant next to Mr. Arthur rolled her eyes at me. All their reactions seemed to suggest I was making a big deal out of nothing, as if I were the one who had cheated and deserved to die. I thought Audrey and I both needed to cool down and talk things over in a few days. These days, Audrey was going to Brandon's place more and more frequently. Ever since Mr. Arthur saw Audrey and me arguing, he'd been even more displeased with me, constantly assigning me tasks, as if he wanted me to work 24 hours a day. I was so busy I didn't have time to check if Audrey was home. I had to rely on the private investigator to know her every move today. Mr. Arthur had a business dinner. He wouldn't take me. He found me embarrassing and didn't want me to meet his contacts or resources. Guarding against me like a thief, this was perfect, giving me time to steal a moment and watch the videos sent by the private investigator. It was a scene of Audrey and Brandon being intimate by a window. What happened next was self-evident. Those who understand, understand. After watching, I was shaking with anger. I thought Audrey would respect our years of marriage and wouldn't cross the line, but I had thought too highly of her. Maybe I'm just not meant to enter her heart, not meant to be seen by her. No matter how hard I tried, I could never compare to Brandon. I pulled a few bottles from the liquor cabinet, intending to drown my sorrows. I knew Audrey wouldn't be coming home tonight. A servant was still cleaning when she saw me take out the liquor. She immediately gave me a look that implied I didn't deserve to drink. I was already in a bad mood, and I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. If your eyes are bothering you, go get them checked. Stop rolling them all the time, no matter how much Mr. Arthur and Audrey looked down on me. I was still the master of the house. The servant, chastised by me, dared not look at me again. The night passed quickly. I didn't sleep at all. It was the most I'd let myself go in 8 years. For 8 years, I had feared Audrey wouldn't like me drinking, so I hadn't touched a drop. I had even maintained a strict routine, just to avoid upsetting her. At 8 in the morning, Audrey returned from outside. Radiant with a spring in her step, she still looked at me with disgust. In fact, the disdain in her eyes was even stronger than before. Did you and Brandon do something you shouldn't have? I propped myself up, swaying, and walked over to ask her. I knew asking this was pointless. I hoped she would lie to me. If she was willing to deceive me, it would mean I still held some place in her heart. As long as she was willing to lie, I could choose to forgive her. Audrey folded her arms across her chest, looking very arrogant. Since you already know, I won't hide it anymore. It's exactly what you think. If you want a divorce, then let's get one. At her words, my heart crumbled. I grabbed her shoulders like a madman, yelling hysterically, Audrey, how could you do this to me? All these years, I've given you my whole heart. Am I that unimportant to you? Do I not even have a tiny place in your heart? Audrey struggled free from my grip and slapped me across the face. You're crazy. Don't you know what kind of person you are? You're disgusting. Let go of Audrey. Brandon appeared from nowhere and pulled me away from Audrey. Mr. Arthur was also standing next to Brandon. It was obvious Mr. Arthur had brought Brandon back after pulling me away. Brandon went to Audrey's side and supported her, gently stroking her belly. Good thing our baby wasn't hurt. This news hit me like a bolt from the blue. Audrey and Brandon had actually sunk to such a shameless level. "Alex, you and Audrey should get a divorce." "I'll take good care of her, Mr. Arthur threw the pre-prepared divorce papers in front of me. I saw 4 large characters on it. Leave with nothing. This family was truly ruthless. For 8 years, I had worked tirelessly without a single complaint. I thought I could move them, that they would treat me like a human being, but this is how it turned out. I was worse than a dog they raised. Vance's business had been in decline for years. If I hadn't secretly used my own resources to clean up their messes, they would have gone bankrupt long ago. Their status as an elite family was already a sham. I didn't even care for Vance's assets. I just hoped they wouldn't try to rely on me later. My love for Audrey had long been worn away by her. She was no longer worth protecting or loving. It was better to let that cheating couple have their way. I signed the divorce papers without hesitation, so quickly that they thought I was up to some new trick. I was soon driven out of the Vance family home, treated like a beggar. There would be other days. I believed it wouldn't be long before they came begging to me. I called a number I rarely dialed. "Send a car to pick me up." "Understood, Mr. Alex." When I married Audrey, I had just graduated from college and indeed didn't have much money. After getting married, I didn't give up working. After some time, I started my own business. Although I had a position at Vance, it didn't stop me from building my own company. Mr. Arthur didn't trust me, so I mostly just coasted at Vance. Fortunately, my own business thrived, becoming one of the top players in the investment world. Though no one knew I was the man behind it, I had seen Vance's accounts. They were in deficit. If they didn't make money soon, they would probably go bankrupt. My assistant picked me up and took me to the company. From now on, I was no longer Audrey's husband, no longer the Alex Arthur looked down on. I was Alex, the CEO of Summit. "Mr. Alex, this is a charity gala hosted by Evergreen. Will you be attending?" My assistant opened the invitation for me to see. I had heard Mr. Arthur and Audrey mention this gala. They wanted to use the event to find investors and quickly overcome the company's difficulties. Since they would be there, there was no reason for me not to go. It was the perfect opportunity for them to see me in a new light. Prepare my clothes, I'll go. It felt good to be myself again. Not having to pretend to be a poor boy, not having to endure the Vance family's sneers about my clothes. Whenever I went out, she wore the latest haute couture, while my suits were the same brand as the bodyguards. Because I loved her. I never cared about such things. I was such an idiot. I drove the coolest, top-of-the-line sports car to the venue. The moment I arrived, all eyes were on me, including Audrey, who had just gotten out of her car. Brandon looked at me disdainfully. "Well, where did you rent that?" "Drive carefully. You can't afford to scratch it." I ignored Brandon's taunts, but Audrey's expression changed when she saw the suit I was wearing. She should recognize the tailoring and fabric of this suit. It was from her favorite designer, something money couldn't buy. She had wanted this designer to create her wedding dress, but they didn't even care about elite families like hers, and now I was wearing a suit designed by that very designer. Audrey rubbed her eyes, afraid she was mistaken, and asked me incredulously, "Where did you get that suit? Does it concern you? Don't forget, we're divorced. My business is none of yours. Where else?" He must have borrowed it. Someone like him. How could he afford it? True. The two of them walked away swaggering. I just smiled without speaking. My invitation was different from everyone else's. I was a special invitee of Evergreen and used a different entrance. The gala began with a jewelry auction, followed by drinks and socializing. The auction started, and I sat in the very back. I had no interest in anything being auctioned here. I just wanted to spoil whatever Audrey and Brandon wanted. "May I sit next to you?" I looked towards the voice. It was Stella, the actress. She was wearing a red evening gown, with softly curled hair and red lips. She exuded a charming elegance, breathtakingly beautiful. Stella and I were classmates, but because she was a big star, she had been busy since college. I hardly saw her in our 4 years there. At that time, she was an unreachable star, a true aloof goddess. I wasn't sure if she still remembered me. I was so ordinary in college that I only dared to secretly love Audrey. How could I expect such a goddess to remember my name? Stella saw me momentarily stunned and waved a hand in front of my eyes. "Don't you remember me? I always remembered you, college classmate." I didn't remember ever speaking to Stella, nor did I know how she recognized me. I had no particular feelings for Stella. I was just surprised that someone of her celebrity status would know me. Stella sat down next to me, just as Audrey looked over. Even though we were divorced, I somehow felt a pang of guilt, like I was caught cheating. but I quickly composed myself. She was the one who wronged me. We were separated now, so there was no need for such feelings. The auction continued. Brandon and Audrey chatted and laughed, their gestures very intimate. Brandon even occasionally stroked Audrey's belly. After half an hour, the ruby Audrey wanted finally came up. Audrey had mentioned this ruby to me more than once. Women have no resistance to beautiful things, especially a flawless 20-carat ruby like this. The starting price was 10 million. Given the Vance family's current financial situation, Audrey could afford at most 30 million. After made her first bid, I immediately raised the price to 30 million. My voice drew everyone's attention again. Audrey looked at me in disbelief. I waved at her, signaling her to continue. Audrey was infuriated by my actions. She felt I was humiliating her. How could a young lady who never batted an eye at spending money tolerate such an insult? 35 million. Suddenly, Stella, who was next to me, called out, 40 million. I looked at Stella, not understanding what she meant, wondering if she really intended to buy it. She just gave me a faint, bright, and friendly smile. Audrey, seeing that the woman next to me had bid, grew even angrier. 50 million. This was far beyond what Audrey could afford. I didn't raise the bid again. After it was over, Audrey looked at me triumphantly. Brandon, next to her, also looked smug, as if saying they had won. I just found it amusing. Leaving the auction hall, I stood in a corner and overheard Mr. Arthur scolding Audrey. Where does the family have so much money right now? Can't you use your brain before you act? He's clearly trying to provoke you. Audrey looked extremely wronged. As a young lady, she didn't understand such things. Dad, stop talking. If you keep going, my stomach will start to hurt. His biological daughter couldn't be scolded, so Mr. Arthur instantly turned his anger on Brandon. And you, why didn't you stop her? What good are you? Brandon was scolded for a long time, stammering and unable to say a word. The company already had no money. How were they going to pay for this newly auctioned ruby? Mr. Arthur paced anxiously, calling almost everyone in his phone contacts, but couldn't find anyone to lend him money. Audrey, if you're willing to apologize to me, I'm willing to buy it and give it to you. I walked over and said unhurriedly. Mr. Arthur looked me up and down. He seemed unable to believe how much I had changed, but his words were still as sharp as ever. Get lost. Stay out of our family business. Exactly. Who do you think you are? Don't forget how we kicked you out. Audrey chimed in from the side. Seeing her like that, I really couldn't understand why I had liked her so much back then. Just then, the head of Evergreen walked over and bowed respectfully to me. Mr. Alex, I've finally met you. Even Arthur, who had seen grand occasions, was stunned by Evergreen's respectful attitude towards me. Who did you say he is? Evergreen looked at Mr. Arthur as if he were an idiot. Mr. Alex of Summit. Don't you know him? Mr. Arthur's legs buckled when he learned my true identity, and he almost fell to the ground. The investment mogul he had been longing for was right in front of him, and he hadn't realized that person was once his son-in-law. Even worse, he himself had kicked me out of his house. His face turned ashen. Seeing this scene, I just wanted to laugh. I turned to the Evergreen representative and said, I'll take that ruby. Please have it delivered directly to Ms. Stella. Mr. Arthur was too shocked to speak, only, oblivious to the situation, continued to humiliate me. Hey just because he has a bit of money, he has to show off. So vulgar. I hadn't expected Stella to specifically come to thank me. After all, someone of her status wouldn't lack suitors sending her gifts. You don't need to thank me. It was just to spite my ex-wife. I told her the truth, but Stella still looked very happy, as if the gift was very important to her. After divorcing Audrey, I had no desire to start another relationship. Now, I just wanted to focus on my work and make money. The next day, as I was sleeping in my luxury home, I was woken by the doorbell. I had had a little to drink at the gala yesterday, and my head was still aching a bit. I groggily went to open the door and was stunned by the person outside. It was Stella, a different Stella from yesterday. Today, she wore light makeup and casual clothes, looking youthful and vibrant. Completely different from yesterday. I asked her, is something wrong? I brought you breakfast. This is for your hangover. Remember to drink it. Stella gave me a slight smile. What did she mean? Why would Stella bring me breakfast? She wouldn't have misunderstood my intention in giving her the ruby yesterday, would she? As soon as she finished speaking, I instantly sobered up. Please don't misunderstand yesterday's gesture. I truly have no romantic intentions towards you. Stella handed the breakfast to me. I know. But can't I pursue you? I know you're single now. This straightforward approach to courtship was something I'd never encountered before. Leaving me speechless, I politely declined Stella. I truly had no interest in dating right now, and I also felt intimidated by such a stunning beauty. At noon, I was halfway through my work at the company when the front desk called my assistant to say that Mr. Arthur was at my company looking for me and asked if I wanted him to come in, tell the security guards to escort him out. A few minutes later, my assistant came back and told me that Mr. Arthur was causing a scene outside and wouldn't leave until he saw me. I looked out from upstairs. A crowd of gossiping onlookers had gathered downstairs, making it seem like our company was doing something illicit. Fine, let him in. I wanted to see what Mr. Arthur had to say to me. As soon as he entered, Mr. Arthur immediately knelt before me. Alex, it was my fault for not recognizing your greatness. It's all my fault. If you're willing, you can marry Audrey again right away. I'll make sure she gets an abortion. And I'll make sure Brandon never appears before you again, please. Help Vance, okay? Vance was founded by Mr. Arthur's father, and he didn't want the family business to be ruined in his hands. He had thought Brandon was capable of taking over, but it turned out Brandon was useless, Alex. Please, for the sake of our past family connection, help Vance. I still remembered when I first met Mr. Arthur after marrying Audrey. He also made me kneel like this. They say a man's knees are worth gold, but for Audrey's sake, I still knelt. I knelt for 4 hours, and he was still unsatisfied. Every now and then, he would tell me how wonderful Brandon was, and if I ever displeased him, he would punish me by making me kneel before him. He had shown me no mercy back then. Do we have a connection? Don't ever appear before me again. Before I could finish, Audrey burst in. Alex, what do you mean? Just because you have money, you look down on people? Dad, get up. Brandon will definitely be stronger than him in the future. Mr. Arthur got up from the floor and slapped Audrey. You unfilial daughter. If you can't speak properly, then shut up. What is Brandon compared to Alex? Dad, you can't beg this hypocrite, Alex. Audrey pointed at my nose and cursed. You're not even fit to carry Brandon's shoes. I'd rather die than beg you. If it weren't for Audrey's pregnancy, I would have really slapped her across the face. Starting today, I declared that no one from the Vance family would be allowed into my company. Anyone who let them in would be fired. The family went bankrupt as I expected, and they were recently selling their properties at low prices. I spread the word that anyone who bought the Vance family's property would be going against me. One was the CEO of an investment firm, the other was a recently bankrupt elite family. I thought anyone with a brain would know who to choose. I secretly bought all of the Vance family's properties at dirt cheap prices. The moment I got the property deeds, I immediately went to the Vance family home to tell them to leave my property. Apparently, they hadn't expected to move out so quickly. Audrey was still leisurely sipping afternoon tea. She truly was a young lady, not bothering with anything. I brought 20-odd people and had them throw out all of the Vance family's belongings, leaving nothing. Seeing their things just disgusted me. What are you doing? This is my house. Audrey pointed at me angrily. I threw the property deed in front of Audrey. Look carefully. It's mine now. Please leave my house. Audrey's face turned green with rage. While Brandon cowered behind Audrey like a scared turtle. Brandon was such a pathetic coward. I really didn't know what Audrey saw in him. After kicking out the entire Vance family, I felt much better. When I arrived home, Stella was still waiting at my door. I had lost count of how many times she had waited for me. Since I rejected her last time, she had continued to bring me things and show concern whenever she had the chance. Why do you keep doing this? I told you I'm not interested. Stella took out a faded small charm from her bag. Because of this, I looked at the charm for a long time but couldn't understand what it meant. You really did forget. Stella's eyes dropped, looking very disheartened. You gave me this when we first started college. I was in a car accident then, and you saved me afterwards. You gave me this in the hospital, hoping it would protect me. Stella continued. By the time she finished, I had pretty much remembered. I had never connected this incident with Stella because, in my mind, I had saved Audrey. The person in the car accident had been covered in blood, making their face barely recognizable, so I didn't remember who she was. I had seen an identical charm with Audrey, so I assumed I had saved Audrey. I also remembered why I had liked Audrey so much when I had the car accident. I was also at a low point in my life. I saved her. And in the ambulance, she held my hand tightly, even though she herself was trembling. She still tried to comfort me. It was her kindness that moved me. After we got married, I asked Audrey about the car accident, and she said she hadn't been in one at the time. I just thought she had forgotten, but it turned out that person wasn't her at all. This charm was very common, anyone could have an identical one. I had mistaken Stella for Audrey. I had recognized the wrong person, although I had mistaken the person. My love for Audrey at the time had been real. Stella always knew I was the one who saved her. But because I was in love with Audrey back then, she never told me. It wasn't until after Audrey and I divorced that she had the courage to pursue me. She said she had missed one chance and didn't want to miss a second. After learning about this history with Stella, I became less resistant to her. Gradually, our relationship grew better, sometimes even hinting at romance. Stella was so gentle, beautiful, and most importantly, she was very good to me. I don't think any man could resist her. On's day, Stella invited me out. She booked the entire hotel and personally prepared a candlelight dinner for me. I was deeply touched by her thoughtful preparations. In the past, I was always the one preparing things for Audrey. I never expected to experience it myself one day. One moment I was still moved by Stella's thoughtfulness. The next she gave me an even bigger surprise. Stella presented me with a bouquet of flowers. "Will you be my boyfriend? I promise to be devoted to you." At that moment, Stella was like the domineering CEO from a romance novel, and I was like the sweetheart wife, facing such a woman. I could only acknowledge my true feelings. I was more than willing. I couldn't have asked for more. Being with a woman like her was my true blessing. Stella even announced on social media that I was her boyfriend, giving me full respect. While the whole internet was buzzing, Audrey directly showed up at my house. When came knocking, Stella and I were still asleep. Audrey's knocking was still as frantic as ever. Seeing, I was completely dumbfounded. I couldn't recognize her at all. Audrey wore a loose t-shirt that only older women would wear, with her hair in a bedhead, and no makeup on her face. It was clear she was in a hurry and hadn't even bothered with basic grooming. She looked dull and completely devoid of her elite family's elegant image. Anyone who didn't know would have thought our nanny was causing trouble. I just peeked at her through the door crack and told her to go back. She wouldn't listen, stubbornly insisting on seeing me. I just left. Stella was still waiting for me to go back to sleep. The of the past used to ignore me, but now, she was completely out of my league. Since then, Audrey started waiting for me in various places. Once in the parking lot, I was truly annoyed by her. I put my arm around Stella as we got out of the car to clarify things with Audrey once more. She immediately lunged into my arms, apologizing in a charming voice. "Alex, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have betrayed you back then. I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay?" She even tried to take my hand to touch her face. Her current state utterly disgusted me. I quickly pulled my hand away and wiped it on my clothes. "Audrey, stop this. We're over." Audrey still thought that if she just acted charmingly, I would soften, like before. She was wrong. People change. Go back. This is our last meeting, or my girlfriend will get angry. Are you abandoning me for this woman? Have you forgotten how good you were to me? Don't bring up the past again. Have you forgotten how you treated me back then? Audrey was left speechless by my retort. If she had any conscience left, she wouldn't continue to disturb Stella and me. It had taken me a long time to forget the pain she caused me. Audrey threw herself at my feet, clutching my legs. "Not letting me leave, Alex. I was really wrong. Please forgive me. I will make up for how I wronged you in the future. I'll be good to you. Really." Audrey cried with tears streaming down her face at my feet. I forcibly pulled my legs free and left with Stella. For the next month, Audrey constantly sought me out, begging for my forgiveness the moment she saw me. Each time, she would dress up in ways I liked and even bring my favorite dishes. But even then, I never gave her a direct look. Gradually, Audrey's visits became less frequent, and eventually, she must have given up hope and stopped coming. Later, I learned that a few months after I kicked the Vance family out, Brandon betrayed Audrey again. Brandon found a wealthy older woman, a 50-year-old, and completely abandoned Audrey and her child. Mr. Arthur chose to commit suicide when Vance went bankrupt. He couldn't accept that Vance was ruined in his hands. Audrey, who had grown up accustomed to extravagance, couldn't handle life without money. When she ran out of funds, she started selling off her jewelry and accessories. Then, a few months later, she gave birth to her child, with her handbags and jewelry mostly sold. She had no choice but to live in a small apartment, living hand to mouth. Her coming to me now was probably a last resort. Otherwise, with her personality, she would never beg. But wasn't this all her own doing? I could only say she got what she deserved. In her first few visits, she still seemed reluctant, but in the later ones, it felt like she was truly remorseful. But what was the point of it all? Back then, I was so humble and tried so hard to be good to her, only to be met with her betrayal. What's broken cannot be mended. I felt that our story ending here was already the perfect outcome. My business flourished. I became a self-made mogul, the newly minted power player CEO of an elite family. No one would remember my humiliating past with the Vance family. Everyone would only remember Mr. Alex, who started from scratch. Stella and I grew happier and happier after we got together, by her own choice. She retired from public life. She spent her days at home, cooking meals and waiting for me to return, and I was more than happy to support her. What I hadn't found with Audrey, Stella gave me in a different way. I felt very content and happy. On our first anniversary, I proposed to Stella. "Stella, will you marry me? I believe I can make you happy." My marriage to Audrey was something she arranged for me to step into. I never proposed to her. My proposal to Stella was my first, and I was incredibly nervous. Even though I knew she would say yes, I was still terribly nervous. I think my nervousness wasn't about whether she'd accept, but about the responsibility of marriage in the future. Even after my failed marriage with Audrey, I still believed Stella and I would be happy because we truly loved each other. We followed the traditional steps: engagement, marriage, and having children. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye. Stella and I had a lovely daughter who was now 3 years old and starting preschool. "Daddy, look, that lady is picking up bottles. It looks so hard," my daughter said to me on our way home, pointing to a woman hunched over by the window. It was a cold winter day, and her clothes were thin. A small boy was with her. The moment the woman turned around, I recognized her. It was Audrey. I never imagined she would end up like this. I didn't go over to mock her. I just felt a pang of pity for her. I thought I would raise my daughter well, so she wouldn't become a woman like Audrey. The happier I became, the less resentment I felt towards Audrey, because now I had people who loved me, and someone I loved.